Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Steph, and if you're new here, I'm Steph. So today I have our last book haul of 2022. So I'm going to take you through those books that I bought quickly, and then at the end of this I did want to talk about my goal regarding book buying, because I think this is kind of the perfect place to talk about it. Maybe I should probably do a whole separate video, but we're gonna do it here. So I have a bunch of books stacked up next to me at random. I don't have them in any type of order. I'm so sorry. Okay, so in the 50% off sale, I kind of went a little hard on that, but also my partner got some books too that we both wanted to read. So this is a combination of my purchases and his purchases. So don't judge me too hard, but they were also 50% off, you know? So it was like buying two was like buying one. Okay, so I got Treads of Angels by Rebecca Roanhorse. Rebecca Roanhorse also wrote Black Sun, and I really loved Black Sun 2 years ago when I read it. I have not moved on with the series because at this point I'm just waiting for the third one. But this is a little novella that I absolutely would not have bought if it weren't 50% off, because the price point was a little too much for me. The little that I know about this is there's a heavens war going on, and I'm pretty sure it's about angels and demons. But that's all I know. And then I got We Spread by Ian Reid, which I've been seeing everywhere. I've been seeing people totally break down about this book. But also earlier this year, I read Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke, which is, I think, their first novel. And I really liked it. So I was excited to see this one. Even though from what I've heard, it's vastly different than Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. This is supposed to be about an older main character who has Alzheimer's, and I'm guessing we're going through that journey, and it's supposed to be really sad because I think it's a first-person narrative. So I'm really looking forward to being destroyed by this. We also picked up The Hollow Kind, which is supposed to be a gothic horror. That is really what I know about it. I love gothic horror, so I try to get as many as I can. I'm really excited that gothic horror is something that is becoming a little more popular right now. But yeah, I picked this one up. I don't know that much about it. My partner actually knows more about it, but they said that I would probably be very interested in this. The next one we picked up is Night Crawling, and when this book first came out, I was immediately intrigued because it takes place in Oakland, which is where I was born, and I know the Bay Area pretty well. So I really love to read things set in San Francisco or Oakland because I do feel like when it is written about, it definitely has like unique takes on the city. That's what initially intrigued me, and then I've been seeing friends giving it really good ratings because it's apparently devastating. There's a lot about grief, and I think there are supposed to be a lot of societal issues in here. I'm not 100% sure. The synopsis actually is pretty vague as well. It just says that the main character ends up in a situation where her new job is night crawling. So, and then I picked up The Genesis of Misery by Neon Yang. I solely picked this up because I love Neon Yang's other work, which is The Black Tides of Heaven. There's a quartet. I don't know if there's going to be any more in that series, but they're novellas. It's like a quartet of novellas, but this is their, I believe, their first full-length novel, and I'm very excited. The synopsis was pretty intriguing as well. It says, it's an old familiar story. A young person hears the voice of an angel saying they have been chosen as a warrior to lead their people to victory in a holy war. But Misery Namaki knows they are a fraud. And then I picked up Joan is Okay. This one was because Mina, I believe, was talking about it. I picked this up thinking it was a completely different book. The book I was thinking of, I'm pretty sure the main character is deaf. And in that book, they talk about American Sign Language, and the cover has like an A on it that was really distinct to me. So that's why I thought that this was that book. I was in a haze in Barnes & Noble. There were so many people I could throw up. Right, this isn't the book that I thought it was, but the synopsis sounds great. It says, Joan is Okay touches on deeply resonant matters, being Chinese American right now, working in medicine at a high stakes time, finding one's voice within a dominant culture, being a woman in a male dominated workplace, and staying independent within a tight-knit family. But above all, it's a portrait of a remarkable woman, so marvelously surprising that you can't get her out of your head. And then I picked up Sea Sparrow, which is the newest book, and I think the last book in the Graceling series by Kristan Kishore. I'm reading this as a read-along with my patrons, and I figured that I would not be able to find this in a used bookstore as I have been with the other ones. ones. I've been really lucky to be able to find the other ones in a used bookstore, even though they're the old covers. As a matter of fact, I might as well just show you now. I got Bitter Blue at a used bookstore. So these are like the original covers, and these are the newer ones. I know somebody is screaming right now because these are mismatched, but it was like $2, if not $1. It was $1. So I ended up getting it. But also, I'm gonna be honest, I'm really not that picky about like something being paperback and something being hardcover or things being mismatched. I'm really not that picky about it. And then I got the Book Eaters, which I have been really curious about this book forever since it came out earlier this year, because they sustain themselves on eating books, but it's supposed to be kind of like a fantasy horror. And I just am very intrigued by the idea of a fantasy horror, because I feel like horror in and of itself obviously has fantastical elements, because a lot of times there's creatures involved or ghosts, but you know, we call that paranormal. Anyway, this is supposed to be like actually very fantastical and horror-like, and I feel like T. Kingfisher does stuff like this, and I've been enjoying it this last year, so I'm excited to read this one. I've heard mixed reviews, but I'm actually very excited to read this book. I was reading the first chapter in the store, and I was immediately sucked into it, so I have high hopes. And then the last thing that we got was Sign Here. I have been seeing this everywhere. A lot of people have said that it's really fun. This is just supposed to be about a character who works in hell. And so it's like a horror, an office horror in hell type of thing, but I could be completely wrong. That's the concept that I picked up from what I've heard about it and what I read from the synopsis. But I'm really excited about this one. I think that I want to read this one and Book Eaters for Winterween if that happens this year. Outside of the 50% off sale, which I'm glad that I got this before that sale started, because I didn't see it at all at both of the Barnes & Nobles that I went to. I got Honey and Spice, which I started in a vlog that I posted not that long ago. And I loved this. This was so good. So I'm glad that I ended up buying a copy of it, because I don't think I would have been able to find it in this sale. This is a romance set in college, so you're following Kiki, and she has this radio show called Brown Sugar, and she basically gives dating advice, but she also empowers women within their dating life. And there's this guy named Malachi who comes into the picture, and he's kind of a ladies' man. He's kind of a player, and they end up in a fake dating situation, and it's just very fun. It's very funny. I love the banter in here. One of my things with romance I have found is I love banter, I love pining, and I am really enjoying a fake dating scenario. I don't think it's my favorite thing, but I don't hate it when it happens. I'm just curious, like, who in real life is fake dating? Because that's never been who. I like it in a book though. This next purchase was definitely a compulsive buy. I really didn't need this, but I have a plan for it, so it's like I felt like I needed it in the moment, and that is A Fire Endless, which is the second book to, I don't know what the series is called, but the first one in this duology is A River Enchanted. A River Enchanted is my book club pick for Patreon. So I do a read along and a book club, and so the book club pick is A River Enchanted. So I decided that because that was picked, I wanted to marathon the duology. Hence me buying this book without having read the first one, which, you know, I haven't done that in a really long time. I think it's been 2 years. You should really be proud of me, because that used to be my kryptonite. So here's hoping that I love this. This next one I actually got for my partner for Christmas, but I absolutely am gonna read it as well, and that is Devil House. And so this one, it's mainly because I see it everywhere. Like, I see it in Barnes & Noble all the time, or just really any bookstore we go to, and then I've seen it on a few people's best of. All I know is the main character is a true crime writer, and I think gets wrapped up into something pretty sinister. And I think it's supposed to be horrific or horror, like it's a horror novel. I don't think it's gothic horror, but that would also be cool. I actually think it's supposed to like blur the lines of true crime and fiction horror. I think it's supposed to be something like that. And then more recently, I finished like a Regency romance type book, and I've really been in the mood for Regency romances, but romance in general, which doesn't happen very often, so I kind of try to lean into it. So I ended up getting Half a Soul, which this was solely because of Angela from Literature Science Alliance. In the Discord, she was talking about reading this and loving it, and then a bunch of people chimed in and they were like, oh, this is really great. So I decided to go for it, because it is, I believe, a Regency romance as well, and the main character loses half of their soul, I'm sure they go on some sort of romantic journey to get it back. And then I ended up getting 2 contemporary romances. Actually, my partner got me this one, and it's Count Your Lucky Stars. So this is supposed to follow a main character who is divorced, and she gets a second chance romance with one of her ex-girlfriends. This is a sapphic romance, and I tend to just really like sapphic romance over any other type of romance. It's superior. Even though we don't have a lot, and we don't have a lot of good ones, I usually like it the most. And then I also got Astrid Parker It Doesn't Fail, which is the second book in the Bright Falls. I don't know how many books are going to be in it, but Delilah Green Doesn't Care is the first one. And so this is the second one following Astrid. You meet Astrid and Delilah Green Doesn't Care. And I read this already and I really enjoyed it. Basically, Astrid is in her 30s and she's just figuring out her sexuality for the first time since a really big breakup with this guy. And she ends up falling for Jordan. And there's like a home renovation show in the background of it all. And I loved it. I'm sure you're catching on to a theme that my partner and I share books because we're both very big readers. And so they technically got me, but also for them, The Spare Man. This is supposed to be a cozy sci-fi. This author also wrote Calculating the Stars, or Calculated Stars, The Calculating Stars. And she's best known for kind of doing cozier sci-fi. As we all know, I'm very weird with sci-fi, specifically like epic sci-fis in space, the space opera. It's just not my thing. So this is supposed to be a cozy murder mystery sci-fi, and I'm really looking forward to it, actually. I'm very excited about this one. And this was also influenced by Elizabeth in the Discord. She once again said that this was like one of her favorite reads of this year. And then these next 4 books are Christmas gifts from Robin Reads. And it was so funny because they all, pretty much all of them, came in separate packages. And then I kept opening them and seeing it was from Robin, and she was like, I have no self-control. I truly have some of the sweetest people in my life. So thank you again so much, Robin. But she ended up getting me Spy Family Volume 3. I've read the first 2 volumes and I loved it. Volume 3 for a while was really hard to find, but now I have it. So I'm very excited. And it's funny that I even brought up T. Kingfisher because Sword Heart, she got me Sword Heart, which is a fantasy romance from T. Kingfisher. I don't actually remember what this is about. I just know that Mina really loved it, and I also think Kaydee really liked this. So I'm very excited to read this because I've definitely been getting into fantasy romance way more this year. She also got me Daughter of the Forest, which is another book I've been seeing so many people talk about this year, which is why I put it on my wish list. It's one of those books that pops up in a lot of people's favorite fantasy list or in their favorite of the year. If I remember right, this is supposed to be more of like a fairy tale fantasy. I think it's supposed to be based off of a fairy tale. I couldn't tell you which one, I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure it's based off of a fairy tale. Those are usually hit or miss for me, but so many people have loved this book that I really think that I have a high chance of also loving it. And then lastly, she got me The Night Eaters by Marjorie Liu, who also wrote the Monstrous comic book series, and I really enjoyed Monstrous for a time. I got like, I think halfway through what was published at the time and I started getting bored with it. But I'm very excited about this because this is a horror-esque one. I mean, I'm sure you can tell from this cover. This is supposed to be horror themed, horror-y, and I'm really looking forward to it. Oh, I actually did forget another book and it's sitting right in front of me. It's because I read it. Kiss Her Once for Me. I just hauled this too when I got Astrid Parker and Count Your Lucky Stars. I got these all at the same time. This is a Christmas romance, and I think I gave it like a 4.5 stars. You're following 2 characters who are having a second chance at love on Christmas. There's a fake dating situation. There's a lot of discussions about like money insecurity, dysfunctional families. There's a divorce in here. I really, really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the darker topics, the heavier topics, I guess. I've noticed that I really love that in romance too, is like darker. I keep saying darker when I don't really mean that. Heavier topics. Okay, that really truly is it. So now I wanted to talk about 2 goals that I have for next year. And the reason I'm not making a goals video like dedicated is I really only have 2 bookish goals. Besides my Goodreads goal, I have 2 bookish goals. And I'm sure you already know one of them because it's the same as last year. And I've continuously said this is like my new brand apparently. And that's reading my own TBR. So as you may know, I have my series Read It Down where I do read my own TBR. My friends help me choose books off of my own TBR to read, and within that series I've read over 45 books I believe. And this coming year, I'm going to continue doing Read It Down, but I also have a new video series coming to my channel that also has to do with reading my own TBR, but it's a little bit different than Read It Down. It doesn't involve my friends. So that being said, I'm still really trying to read my own TBR. So you're probably asking yourself, then why did you just haul like 30 books? And that's because this truly is probably going to be my last haul on my channel for a while. As soon as January 1st hits, I'm actually trying to challenge myself to only buy new releases that I'm anticipating. I can't, you know, I really tried it this year. I really tried it this year by saying that I was only gonna buy my anticipated releases, and then suddenly so many things became my anticipated releases that were absolutely not anticipated releases. They were excuses to buy new books. Instead of continuously adding to my TBR, I'm trying to challenge myself to read more from the library whenever I have the opportunity. I don't want to call it a book buying ban because I'm not banning myself from buying the book. If I end up reading it at the library and I love it, I can go buy it. And like the third tier to this is as soon as I get those new releases that I'm interested in, I should be reading them because I am the most excited about books when I just buy them. So therefore I should be reading them as I buy them. This is very much inspired by my partner because this is what they've been doing for this year. It's a wild concept to me, but I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it. It's hard for me to like solidify what this goal should be and if it should even be one goal, really. I think it's ultimately 3 different goals. It's me only buying new releases that I'm actually anticipating and not ones that magically became something I was anticipating because I saw somebody else talk about it. That's number 1. Number 2 is that as soon as I get those new releases, I should be reading them as soon as I possibly can. And number 3 is using the library because I work at a library. I am a librarian. Go back to the person that I used to be. The person that used to pretty much always get my book from the library first, read it, and then go out and buy the book if I really loved it. So that's why I'm saying that I'm not putting myself on a book buying ban, because if I read it from the library and I absolutely love it, I want to be able to go out and get that book. And I love that feeling. I actually really love going and buying a book that I know I'm already loving. So those are technically 3 goals, but it's like an overarching singular goal of just like me getting some help when it comes to books, you know? I think this is really coming from the fact that I had such a mediocre reading year. And the fact of the matter is I didn't buy half as many books as I have in previous years. My book buying actually has been cut in half this year. Even though I'm joking about me buying a lot of anticipated releases that weren't necessarily my anticipated releases to begin with, my book buying has been cut in half, which I mean, I think that coincides with the fact that I've been reading a lot of what I own, and it's been making me evaluate a lot of things about myself, you know, and my taste. Anyway, that was a very convoluted way of trying to tell you my goals, which is basically similar to last year, me still reading my own TBR, and secondly, trying to minimize how many books that I magically am anticipating. And obviously, you know, utilizing the library more for actual physical reads and new releases that I'm not 100% sure about, but they sound kind of cool. So yeah, I thought I would just tack this on to the end of a book haul. But anyway, let me know your goals for next year. Leave a book stack emoji down below if you made it this far and have nothing to say, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.